Hey, how's it going? I usually save intelligent and introspective content for my firearms channel, but I recently remembered and started reminiscing about a game I played as a youngin' that was an absolute blast, Blockland. Released on February 24th, 2007, Blockland was and still is a blocky sandbox building game that had a heavy focus on community-created maps and minigames. Think of it as Gary's mod with a LEGO art style. In that sense, it's very comparable to modern-day Roblox. I've played Roblox only for a couple hours, but from what I've seen, it's a very similar concept. Despite the full release of Roblox coming before the full release of Blockland, Blockland was first prototyped in 1999, far before Roblox. That being said, and despite coming first, Roblox has definitely seen more success in time than Blockland has. If memory serves, I got the game in 2011 when I was 11 years old, and quickly got banned from the forums for being an annoying little shit. Honestly, yeah, that checks out. I was annoying as fuck when I was a little kid, much like most others. In 2013, Blockland was brought from its website to the Steam store, which brought a whole new wave of players in. Before I started playing again to make this video, my playtime on Steam was a little under 200 hours, but I would guess over 1,000 if you count the original not Steam version as well. And then, in 2017, the developer BadSpot announced that there would be no more updates for the game. Interestingly, before launching it again for this video, that was the last time I played it, 2017. So, Despite the game by most metrics being dead, there's still a small community who plays it despite the low player counts. The Reddit, which is also mostly dead, has most of its recent posts made by a player named Patyos, who I actually had the opportunity to play zombies with, which I'll go over later in the video. But I just want to go over a bunch of points about the game and experiences I remember in no particular order from back in my heyday, 2011 to about 2014, then another smaller stint around 2016 to 2017-ish. Now, of course, in a building sandbox game, you have to have a building system. The building controls are kind of weird by today's standards when compared to games like Minecraft or even fucking Fortnite, using the numpad keys to control where blocks are placed by an, I guess, cursor block or ghost block. You then press enter to fill where the block is. It's kinda unorthodox, but really isn't bad once you get the hang of it. I remember for my first laptop circa 2011-ish, I specifically sought out one with a numpad so I could play Blockland with default controls. And what is creation without destruction? Most of the smaller blocks are by default destructible, and using a rocket launcher or any other explosive, you can blow holes in structures. By default, these blocks respawn after a short while, but for PvP game modes, a lot of them left block respawning off. This made for a lot of really cool battles where whole maps would just get destroyed. But a game like this won't get far without user-created content. A lot of the times these are called mods, but for Blockland, they're just called add-ons. Add-ons include custom weapons, sounds, textures, AI, game modes, and a lot more as well. These are what truly make or break a game like this, and thankfully, Blockland has a shitload of add-ons, many of them being pretty good. I'll go over game modes later, but specifically the weapons are really interesting to look at. Default Blockland comes with 2 firearm weapons, a handgun loosely based on a 1911 called The Gun, and Guns Akimbo where you dual wield them. Despite that being the base add-on authors have to work with, some pretty complex weapon add-ons have been made, with reload mechanics, ammo pools, and iron sights. Back in 2014, I messed with creating add-ons, but never did anything too complex, mostly just making a bow that shoots more bows, a gun that shoots guns, or best yet, a bow that shoots swords. Yeah, I never did a lot more than just model swaps and editing the values for default functions, but I've got a basic idea what goes into it, and yeah, very impressive that some of these add-ons do such complex stuff. And while the add-ons are cool, some people created add-ons deemed dangerous, either in the cybersecurity sense or in the in-game sense of being too destructive. These add-ons, which I labeled as banned add-ons in my notes, were not allowed to be posted on the forums, at least not if memory serves. Remember, I'm working off over a decade-old memories, so if I get something wrong, my apologies. 2 of these add-ons I remember in particular were the Mini Nuke and Ion Cannon. I remember back in 2011 to 2013-ish time period, trudging through sketchy websites just to find the downloads for one of these things. These 2 add-ons were very destructive and back in the day could cause servers to crash. In this footage, I'm playing on a 2021 gaming laptop, and the Mini Nuke caused no issues except a small lag spike. But the Ion Cannon? Holy shit, it was like playing a PowerPoint presentation. A middle-of-the-road modern machine got crippled by this thing. Imagine what happened to the average home computer in 2011. And while add-ons are fun, it would be nice to not have to manually install all of them. Thankfully, we were in luck. Return to Blockland, abbreviated to RTB, was a mod that added functionality kinda like the Steam Workshop to your game, allowing you to download and install mods from within the game itself instead of having to download from an external website and manually placing files. I remember when I started using RTB, life was made so much easier. But unfortunately, back in 2014, RTB was shut down. Best I can find is there was a dispute between RTB's creator, I'm gonna butcher this, Ephialtes, and the Blockland dev Bad Spot. Rest in peace, RTB. But fret not, because in the modern day there's an alternative to RTB known as Blockland Glass. It functions much in the same way, but with a more modern UI. I've been messing with it a little bit, and it seems to work well. One thing I will mention is there was a hack early 2023, and anyone with a Glass account is advised to change their passwords. Figured I'd throw that in here to potentially help someone out. Alright, now on to custom games. Blockland, much like Gmod, is carried by its abundance of user-created game modes. I'll go over a few here. First up, we've got Slayer, I assume named after the deathmatch mode in the Halo games. It's highly configurable and does the trick for the majority of deathmatch scenarios you can think up. Oh boy, then you have one of the more popular game modes back in the day, and one of my favorites was Zombies. More specifically, the game mode Zombies Are People 2, abbreviated to ZAPT and anglicized to Zapped. Zapped adds a whole survival mode or escape mode with many of the special infected from Left 4 Dead. This is actually what got me to buy Left 4 Dead 2 as my first Steam game late 2010. I thought the Blockland version was fun, so why not go for the real thing? To this day, it's an absolute blast to play, and there's something really unsettling about zombies with smiley faces chasing you down relentlessly. Patyos, at least at the time of recording, hosts a dedicated ZAPT server, and I got to play with them a bit, which was fun. I recommend you give it a shot. Next up is City RPG. Despite hating RP servers in most games, one of my favorite game modes was one called City RPG. It's what it advertises on the tin, role-playing in a city. Buying stuff at stores, making money with a job, honestly pretty comparable to Dark RP and Gary's mod. I actually ran a server using this game mode, and it was not very successful. My map was ugly, the version of the game mode I had was out of date, and I think the server peaked with like 8 people on at once, which back in the day, not very good. I played for a bit regularly on a guy named Surburb's City RPG server, and the whole thing was just aesthetic as fuck. Hey, just a little interjection from me editing. So when I recorded that voice clip, I was under the impression that I would be able to find some of my old Blockland screenshots from 2010, 2011, 2012, etc. Unfortunately, after scouring through literally 6 or 7 hard drives and everything I can possibly think of, I cannot fucking find them. I also got no response from Surburb about any screenshots he might have, so I decided to start scouring on the Blockland forums. And despite going through probably 24 pages of posts, this is the only evidence I can find of what it looked like. That certainly is the map how I remember it, the same lighting conditions, everything, but you can barely fucking see anything. It's okay though, from that one deathmatch server you should be able to see about what low light looks like and how it is, in fact, aesthetic as fuck. It was fun getting in shootouts with police and then getting arrested and having to do prison labor to have some money when you eventually got out. There are of course a shitload of other game modes, but those are the ones I played the most. But game modes are only half the puzzle when it comes to making a fun map. Block events make it all come together. You can assign block events to pretty much every block in the game. It's a pretty simple method of programming, and is actually what got me into programming and modding as a whole. Looking back, it's wild how formative this game was for my life. Visual programming like this is very easy to understand even for me when I was 10 years old, and brain damaged, so I have to give props to Bad Spot for how he designed it. You can do anything from making rainbow cars, to making a working vending machine, to making a countdown timer for a bomb, to whatever the fuck this is. Dude, what is going on? Events also interface with game modes to create objectives, escape points, randomize weapon and enemy spawns, etc. Sort of related are other properties you can assign to blocks, like disabling rendering or collision, making them spawn items, making them emit particles or light. It's genuinely impressive how much you can do to each and every block in such an old game. Now on to maps. Back when I started playing Blockland, you had a large selection of maps to play and build on that were more realistic environments instead of being made entirely from blocks. But come V21 in August 2012, these maps were removed, which pissed myself and a lot of others off. The best I can find is that these are removed for performance reasons and issues arising from the new shaders feature, but it still just sucks that these are removed. I have fond memories of these maps, including some community-made ones that have been lost to time, unfortunately. And related is something known as Blockland Rebuilt. Blockland Rebuilt, as the name suggests, is a complete remake of Blockland using the original game engine, but since they have the source code, the devs can add new features. They also did the impossible by having both shaders and maps in this version. Crazy concept, right? I guess having over a decade of hindsight makes things easier. I gave it a shot and had fun exploring the old maps I haven't played on in 12 years. The nostalgia hit hard, of course. I then messed around on a couple online servers, but unfortunately, there was literally no one online except a server bot. The base Steam version of Blockland has some players online at the very least. I do find it hilarious though to see Gary's mod maps faithfully recreated in Blockland. Definitely something I never expected to see in my lifetime. While Blockland isn't super popular these days, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for people that want a game like this. A spiritual successor to Blockland named Brickadia seems to aim to recreate the Blockland feel and experience, but for modern machines. While it won't have the same nostalgia factor Blockland has for me, graphically at least, it seems to be a huge improvement. But unfortunately, it might be doomed to fail before it even releases. After asking around, I learned that Brickadia will not have the same add-on support Blockland has. This is baffling to me, because the add-ons are what makes Blockland so special. Partially due to using the Unreal Engine, Brickadia isn't able to have the same user-created content Blockland does. This is a damn shame, but it doesn't look like it'll change. And one last little note that I thought was funny, the Brickadia Early Access New Year's server had a lower player count than Blockland's New Year's server. Damn. Now back to Blockland and the brief conversation I had with Patyos. Patyos started playing Blockland in 2006 and purchased it through physical mail, which is wild to me. That reminds me of the original Doom sold in 1993, requiring you to mail id Software a check, with them mailing you back the floppy disks with the game. He regards Blockland to be the best PC game of all time, with near limitless possibilities. With the add-on system and the building system, I would agree that within the engine's limitations, you can do an awful lot of different things. He also pointed me in the direction of a couple Blockland Discord servers where the majority of the discourse happens these days. I'll link both below, the Blockland United and BCC Content Creators Discords. And now, for a conclusion. From the limited amount of time that I've spent on Blockland recently since New Year's Eve, I can say that despite the community being small, it's still alive and thriving. Okay, maybe thriving is a bit of a stretch, but it still has people that are dedicated to the game. I doubt Blockland will ever return to the player counts it once had, but according to Steam charts, the player count is gradually rising. People often underestimate how powerful nostalgia is. Just look at the resurgence of Minecraft versions prior to the Adventure update, which by the way, I'll be doing a video on at some point in the future as well. But I'll be honest, I downloaded this game again mostly just to get footage for this video that I decided to make on a whim due to nostalgia. But I'm hooked again. I forgot how much fun this game is, even with low player counts. If you watching have any interest at all in trying Blockland out, just know that it's $10 usually on Steam, and regularly goes on sale for about $5. Yeah, the graphics are outdated, the UI is janky, and the game shows its age, but it's aged remarkably well for being close to 25 years old since the first prototype. But it's an enjoyable experience, and I'll definitely continue playing, and maybe I'll see you there. Take care, guys.